About 6 months ago, I beat Ghost of Tsushima using only perfect parries. It was a long and hard journey, but I sadly didn't own the DLC back then. But I do own it now. So, the question is... Can you beat Ghost of Tsushima using only perfect parries? DLC edition. The rules are the same as the last time. I cannot deal damage with anything else besides perfect parries. I am still allowed to execute terrified Mongols and use the end suffering mechanic. The rules for fighting the archer and brute Mongols stay the same, since they still can be parried in the DLC. So, without further ado, let us begin. Now, what I would usually do is go straight to the mission and go to Iki Island. But I was staying pretty bad upgrade wise. Mainly armor upgrade materials, which I'll need later, and also my katana was still not fully upgraded yet. So, first, I had to clear some camps for gold, of course using only perfect parries. And I fully upgraded the Sakai katana. Now, the armor upgrade materials weren't so hard to get. I think I did only 2 or 3 camps to get enough. The problem was that if I wanted to upgrade an armor to the max level, I needed 1500 supplies, which I definitely did not get by doing an infinite supply glitch. Yeah, okay, look, it was this or 3 hours of farming. But I made sure to switch the difficulty up from hard to lethal, which made me die in only a few hits, sometimes even one, especially with the armor I used later in the game. With this out of the way, I approached the camp, only to find some villagers tripping balls and spouting nonsense. Red oval with grey oval on it. Amogus, sassy. What the actual fuck? Sadly, I was interrupted by some Mongols before I got the chance to put him out of his misery. Meet the shaman. These guys were my biggest problem through the run. Unlike other Mongols, they are mostly passive, but given the chance, they will start throat singing to boost their allies. Which wouldn't be a problem if they didn't make the normal attacks parry only and the parry only attacks unparryable. So they were pretty much the first enemies I had to attack each time. The problem was that they were also inconsistent as shit. They either attacked me instantly when I got close to them, or they kept singing, and this proceeded through the whole fucking playthrough. Anyways, after a few failed tries in which I realized just how much I was going to suffer through little difficulty, I finally managed to take them all down. The next day, Yuna came to see me off the island. I also told her that the peasants were poisoned and now they had visions. But this didn't seem like it would be a big problem for me. Boy, was I wrong. After that, we set to sea.
Don't worry, I've sailed through worse.
You had to jinx it, didn't you? Now, on the island, I refused to continue without my horse. So I first went to the shipwreck to search for it. Again, you had to jinx it. After some searching, I finally found my horse, and I also unlocked a new ability, the horse charge. An ability that I was not allowed to use. So after the first forced use, I had to jump down and fight the Mongols fair and square. Thankfully, this mission didn't have any hard fights. We also saved the guy who was like, "Thank you so much for saving me." Oh, you too, samurai. You know what? Next time I'll let the horse consciously save you. Now with the best boy ever back to me, I went to the eagle camp only to die almost instantly. Thankfully, this was scripted, and now I had the honor of meeting the eagle. Personality wise, she's the basic "Ooh, look into your past to face your ancestors" type. As for what she did, she force drinked me some of her poison. At the time I didn't know what it was, but that only amplified my horror later. After passing out, I was saved by Yuna, and together we managed to escape the eagle.
Psych!
It was just a hallucination induced by the eagle's poison. In the hallucination, we get the first glimpse into how Jin feels like he disappointed his father. You know, just like every other Genshin Impact player. Thankfully, I was saved by Tenzo, a pretty cool dude who definitely had nothing to do with Jin's past. After just a bit of banter, we settled on me joining forces with the mercenaries to fight against the Mongols. The visions continued in the next mission as well. You know, they are pretty interesting. It's just Jin's thoughts narrated in the eagle's voice. Wait a second. Shit singing, hallucinations, drinking poison to join her shamans. Holy shit. She gave me lean. It all makes sense now. It's just a group of wannabe trappers trying to make a move in the industry. It's safe to say that if I wanted to stop them only a bit before, now I was feeling motivated. I wasn't really welcomed in the camp, so to gain their trust I had to help them blow up some boats, because that never ever backfired horribly in history. But before doing anything else, I had something to do. Do you remember the materials from the beginning of the video? Well, those are used to upgrade the Sarugami armor. This armor is the perfect armor for god sweats that want to do only perfect parries and perfect dodges. It makes normal parrying impossible, while making the perfect parry window bigger. It also transforms the normal parry into a 3-chain combo when fully upgraded. And the best part, it works in boss fights. To get the armor, I listened to the tale of the pirate Blackhand Riku. To sum it up really quick, he basically trolled a little bit too hard to the point where his own crew betrayed him. And now people say that even though he was blinded the night his crew turned against him, he now sees through the eyes of every monkey on the island. Full story aside, to get more information about his whereabouts, I had to save this captive bandit. This fight can go suck a dick. It was incredibly tough, mainly because of the weapon switching Mongol. This was one of the first times I had to deal with one of them. This enemy switches between sword, shield and spear, and when you think about it, he shouldn't be that hard, but in practice, he is very annoying to deal with, mainly because his attacks are also a bit faster than usual. Anyways, after a lot of failed attempts, I rescued the bandit, and she told me to go to the beach and follow some RGB algae to Riku's cave. The algae didn't lead to a party, nor an insane gamer setup, but to an insane man. I mean, is that really so different? The fight against Riku was tough. Very, very tough. But I didn't give up, and after a while I finally took him down. I put his armor on, and I went outside the cave where I was welcomed by Riku's crew. Apparently, they didn't realize I single-handedly took down the man they weren't able to kill as a team, and they attacked me. It was no problem though. I just had a good excuse to test the new armor. Yep, it's good, alright.
That's all of them.
Now, let's go back to blowing up a boat. The plan was to use the fog to stealthily steal a Mongol supply ship, but since things working well never make for a good story, the fog lifted as soon as we got there. My allies proceeded to stay on the beach while I fought the Mongols alone. While I was doing this, Jin kept having his lean visions.
The raiders know who you are. They are leading you into a trap.
You won't break me. I'll never join your trash music group. With the cannons disabled and the ship in our possession, we sailed towards the Mongol warship. It's also important to notice that for some reason Tenzo was really hostile towards me. Or so thought Jin from Yarikawa. Anyways, we attacked the Mongol warship, and here we can really see the power of this armor. As I said before, if you manage to parry and you are fighting a small amount of enemies, the fight can be over in just 2 or 3 parries. Now that the Mongols were defeated and their ship was burned, I got to speak with Tenzo and ask him what was the problem. Turns out he found out who I was, and he told me if anyone else found out, we both will be as good as dead. Knowing this, my next move was to gain even more trust by liberating Fort Sakai. The mission was pretty good. I began by saving some captive pirates. After that, it was a constant game of pushing forward and parrying my way through the enemies. After the courtyard was cleared, I got into a fight with one of the eagle's shamans. Sadly, he was a glorified switching enemy, and their fight was not that hard. I would have beaten him first try, if I didn't miss the literal first parry. Thankfully, I pretty much dominated the second try, while he was like, "Why, you ate the gift the eagle gave you." Before beating him, I also made sure to bite back with the most insulting comeback ever.
You waste the air we breathe.
Of course, he was a coward and I had to give chase. We ended up on top of a tower where I finally slayed him. Finally, one less trapper in the world. About the lean visions in this mission. They were not really that interesting. It was basically just stuff about the fort and Jin's father hurting the innocent locals. You know, as you do. To start the next mission, let's talk first about the lean visions. They were getting pretty bad, but they did give me a more interesting side of Jin. In these specific visions, I saw how Jin feels some guilt over what his family did in the past, which is a pretty interesting character bit. But what about the mission itself? This was by far the toughest mission of the run. We had to defend ourselves and hold a village, and they had an overabundance of shamans and the worst enemy type in the entire game. I'm genuinely surprised I got this far into the run without talking about these guys. They count as brutes and use an unparryable twin blade. But unlike normal brutes, their attacks are really fast, and to top it all off, their attacks insta-kill me. All of them. The only way to kill those guys is to either chain a perfect parry into them or attack them when they are fighting an ally. Speaking of allies, I died countless times trying to revive them. As much as I complained about them in the main game, this here was by far the worst the AI has ever been in this game. But even with all of this, we pushed forward and we managed to put the Mongols on the run. There was a problem though. It appears that Tenzo had a severe and continuous lapse in his judgment,
May your death benefit all beings.
and he somehow forgot he said these exact same words before killing Jin's father. I confronted him on the matter, and he said the usual, "Oh, I was your father's enemy, blah blah, you know the drill." While talking, we decided to tell Fune about who I really was, and to also go on the attack. As I said, we went on the attack, while Fune's men prepared the trap inside the canyon where Jin's father died. While fighting the Mongols, I spotted the eagle, but it turns out it were just the lean visions getting worse. Shit! If I don't stop this now, I'll soon start speaking with autotune. Turns out, the real eagle was waiting for me where my father died.
That's the last of them.
Would you look at that? The AI just redeemed itself. After fighting through waves of enemies, I finally was face to face with the eagle. This fight is really tough. All of her moves one-shot me, besides the spear leap for some reason. And the fight got even harder midway through, where the lean visions got worse. But after a moment of self-acceptance, I was finally able to defeat this mid-villain.
Face the judgment of your ancestors, Lord Sakai.
Kill him, you coward! No. I will never be like you.
One day, you will face the judgment of your ancestors.
May your death benefit all beings.
You know, this scene would be way cooler if the PS2 water was not in the background. Anyways, from here on out, things went pretty smooth. I was free from the shackles of modern trap music, and I was finally able to express myself.
Petals soak with blood. My father's breath subsiding. Free at last from life.
I proceeded to talk with Tenzo and Fune, who all thanked me and told me that the Sakai name was basically cleared on the island. And with this out of the way, the challenge was finally over. Now, this was way more fun than the previous Ghost of Tsushima challenge, mainly because of the Sarugami armor, which made perfect parrying something actually worthwhile instead of a gimmick. If you liked what you saw, I'd strongly suggest you do this challenge too, especially if you want to feel like a real badass by the end of it. But what else can I say besides, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next challenge.